I hope all is going well in your neck of the woods today, wherever that is you may be. As you can see, I've dusted off the old love note this morning, knitted in the cove. It was a touch chilly, I have to say. When I came to work at 7 this morning, it was a balmy 9 degrees. So yes, definitely warranted a wee jumper for today. Lots to talk about this morning. I know I say that all the time, lots to talk about. I feel like, well, there is lots to talk about. First up, everybody that bought everything at the end of last week, whoa, you certainly kept us out of mischief. The summer skies, it looks like, is now all gone. The rustic alpaca that I showed you last week, the first fadge is gone. There is a second fadge coming. So if you missed out on that, which is that 100 gram Skeinz beautiful rustic alpaca, there is more of that coming. So it is going through the mill. It possibly won't be through in the next maybe 3 or 4 weeks away. Caught up with Yvonne this morning, but when it comes in, it will be going out at the same price. So don't panic if you missed out on that. And it's a similar amount than what we had the first time round. Honestly, it was lightning fast. You loved it. So there is definitely more of that coming. The Waikiwi, we actually got a lot of the Waikiwi in, so I know a lot of that's been going out, so do make sure you pick that one up. Waikiwi is great. That is the Waikiwi sock yarn. If you're a sock knitter, and I know people love knitting socks this time of year because they're simple and quick and easy. You can have them in your purse. They're the perfect project for warmer weather. So Waikiwi is fantastic. And we've got both prints and solids. So that means that if you're wanting to play around and do something like a timely cardigan from Libby Johnson, which I know many of you have got in the queue, or you've already knitted and want to knit again, Waikiwi is just perfect for that because we've got both solids and prints that you can throw together and have a little bit of a play around with, and that is all both in store and here online. So we've still actually got good amounts of that. And I haven't actually, I just had to hand them over. I've just handed over the Loyal Chunkies, just got loaded up. When did I put them up? Oh, well, when I say me, we, the royal we, Claire put those up on Saturday, and I flicked a wee note out for that, but I've just rephotographed them this morning. It's just so they're a bit nicer photos. And those chunkies are a really good buy. So they have just gone up at $3.95 a ball, and there's a gorgeous gold in there, a couple of lovely greens, a lovely stone colour, and a beautiful soft pink. If you're wanting to do, actually it's fantastic value, that Loyal Chunky. So those are now up as well. So that's all over on the sale page, nice and easy to find. What else have I been up to? Oh, I've just gone and created, if you go into Yarns by Range, I've created a Christmas category because this morning, a box turned up in the courier this morning from Ashford's, and in there we got some needle felting kits, and we haven't done them before. This is the first time that we're doing them, but we had to do them because honestly, Ashford's have really done so many incredible kits, and they are seriously cute. We've got a gorgeous beagle dog, there's this 3D sheep, there's some native birds. I mean, if you're looking for crafty Christmas gifts for either someone in your family, someone that you know, a friend, and you're wanting to do something New Zealand made and handmade, these are absolutely fantastic. So with any luck, fingers crossed, Clara, I'll get those up today. And I've sort of been moving stuff into that segment, into that section. So if you're looking for sort of gifts, you can sort of go in there to have a wee look. And we've got a whole bunch of stuff that we need to sort of get uploaded. So we've got, I think we've got some kits. I mean, some interchangeable sets that need to go into there. And we've got, what else have we got? I'm looking in the shop now. Like the fabric shaver. I'm going to put the fabric shaver in there. Gift vouchers are in there, just to make it easy if you're sort of wanting to get around and do your shopping. So that was this morning before we even got to the meeting. I tell you, it was all on. So how is it? Where is everybody this morning? I'm just jumping and saying hello. Oh, hello, everyone. It's so good to see you here. It is utterly, oh, wow, gosh, there's loads of you here this morning. Good morning. Right, I have a confession to make. I knitted not a single stitch on my Rebel over the weekend. It's not that I've fallen out of love with it, but I needed to, seriously, it was water and not a drop to drink for me on the weekend. I know I have a set of DPNs, 3mm DPNs. I know I have this thing in my needles. And I did a cursory hunt for them, and where I thought they were wasn't where they were. So I kind of thought, so I needed to find them. So I never got back to ripping back. So if you'd missed Thursday's episode, I'm literally, so this is where I'm up to, I'm literally onto the cuff of sleeve number 1 and realised that I'd picked up these, which are actually 3.25mm needles, and I did the first 2 rounds of the first full lot of garter stitch on that size needle. And I said that I was probably going to tink back because I've just got it a little bit loose there. I haven't quite decided. I might cheat and just do that as a twisted stitch, knit 2 together, which is most likely because I'm lazy. Anywho, and then I just sort of didn't get around to it. So, and usually I quite often do a bit of knitting. I wake quite early on a Saturday morning, and I have this golden couple of hours on a Saturday morning, which is my sort of quiet knitting time where every other person in my household is still asleep. And then I just sort of was like, so I ferreted around. I was literally ferreting around at 6 a.m. trying to find these needles on Saturday morning. And I couldn't find them. I thought, Next to where I was ferreting around was this basket here. I'll just pull that out before it goes east. I've got a couple of these. And in here is a project that I have been working on that I started during lockdown. And if you watch the Skeinz Diaries, you may remember me putting this out. I started it during lockdown, and it was a sort of further testing of a wrap/poncho that I started working on a couple of years ago. I've done it in Albertine. Many of you may have seen me wear it. It's also exactly the same poncho that I knitted after I had Stephen B here, and I got all inspired, and I multi-stranded a whole bunch of crazy yarns together. It's sort of a greeny, sort of coloured, multicoloured thing, which I've worn several times on the Skeinz Diaries. Exactly the same pattern. And I'm doing another in a different weight of yarn again. And because what I'm wanting to do, the great intention, the things that I say I want to do that I need to get around to doing, is I wanted to create this pattern and have it written in such a way that you could pick it up and you could use it on any weight of yarn with the needle size that you have. And what I'm giving you is basically the framework, the ratioed framework. So then you can just pick it up and create this incredible project using what you have to hand. So if you have a whole bunch of DK yarn, you can use that. If you have a whole bunch of worsted yarn, you can use that. If you want to double strand a whole heap of stuff together and get some fat needles out, you can do that. It doesn't matter what you choose to do, the outcome will be the same. I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to write that. I need to get onto my friend Mr. Ethan to give me a hand with that from a tech editing point of view. But anywho, I started it. So this is as far, well, actually, hold on. I probably got to about there. So that's what I've done so far. Look at those lovely stripes, all in purples. And how that came about was I had a couple of this, which is a Malabrigo, 2 skeins of that. Well, I'm hoping it's 2 skeins because it'll be, if it's not, I'm in trouble. Because I've only got one more of those left. Mind you, I do know what it is, so if I have to order another, I'll be okay. So I've got one more of those. That's the Malabrigo. Then I've got in there, I also had from Deep Stash this. Oh, yeah. Oh, this yarn here and this yarn here. Now, these are both Barocco yarns, and I bought these in the US in 2012. So that's how long they've been in my stash for, 2012. Sort of variations on a theme. And before you die, these are both 100% acrylic yarns. Yes, Marie did buy 100% acrylic yarn, and I did it because I love the colours. Really, really love the colours. And this project is perfect for that. So, I mean, let's face it, we've all got, I know you've got those in your stash. I do, I know. You had them. What else did I have? I also then found out, looking at our colour palette here, dived around, and I had this. And this is a hand spun that I had done. I'm famous for spinning when I'm stressed, and I'll spin off a single skein of something, and it'll only ever be a single skein of something, and then I throw it in a bag and I don't know what to do with it. So that's what that is, sort of roughly to a DK weight. For all the hand spinners out there, don't look too closely because I'm not the world's greatest hand spinner, but I like doing it anyway. Then I had this. Oop. See, it's all got myself twisted up. Anyway, that. And that is a woolen wrap yarn that we had here that we actually make for a weaver, and it's got a gold trilobal nylon wrap around the outside, so you can see the gold there. But what I did is I double stranded it back with that sort of plummy coloured mohair. So as you can see, when I said to you I went deep diving in my stash, I really did go deep diving in my stash, and I found that little combination of yarns, which really do, I mean, apart, they make no sense to each other whatsoever. But together, I was able to come up with that. So what I then figured out is that I'm not going to have the way the pattern, I was doing the pattern, I'm not going to have enough to do the entire length in that sort of stripy combo. So I've taken the Malabrigo, and I really did think I had 3, but maybe I only had 2. And I am now doing sort of the maiden body section in that Malabrigo. And the whole point with this now is I want to get, so I'm nearly getting towards the end of the first one. I think I should be all right. If I'm not, you know what, I'll just dig something else up and make it up as I go along. I'll wing it. And I'm just sort of going with this. And I have to say, this is it was really nice to pick this up. I seriously have not picked this up for 6 months. And actually I did about 8 or 10 centimetres on this on the weekend. And it was really satisfying to do that. And I've now sort of gotten quite energized on that. And I'm thinking, if I really pull finger, I can potentially get that done and out. And I might be able to do it. I'm trying to set myself a goal to get that out, to gift that pattern to you guys for Christmas, if I get my act together. It's something to do, because it's a perfect stash buster. Because let's face it, we've all got crazy weird stuff in there. Oh, I'll show you. This is the other one. In there, this is a Lurex. I even double stranded some of that with the Malabrigo at some point until it got all tangled and it annoyed me. So then I stopped. Your knitting doesn't have to be completely organized and structured all the time, I think is what I'm trying to say. Sometimes it just pays to throw caution to the wind, and we'll put a spitball up against the wall and just see what sticks. So I'm kind of hoping that will stick. This is the 3rd time I've knitted this now, and I'm actually thinking that the design itself is going to have some legs. It will have legs in the sense that it will be a template for you guys to actually apply your own creativity to it, because I've done 3 wildly different ideas with but the structure of the design is exactly the same. That hasn't changed. There's a little quirk in there that actually helps hold it together, and it just means that you can be you can let your freedom go and throw some different ideas out there. You can play around with stitches. There's a whole bunch of things. So that's what I've been working on across the weekend, which, yeah, thoroughly satisfying, really satisfying. I've also loved seeing the number of Rebels that have been finished up over the weekend. That has been awesome. And I have also set a goal. I'm quite determined to get the Rebel finished by the end of the month, because I want to start into something new for the next month. But it's been so good to see them, and I hope you guys have enjoyed knitting it, because I've really enjoyed knitting it, I have to say. I can't wait to wear it, actually, because I've already got a few things identified that I can wear that with, so that's loads of fun. Now, I also had some inquiries, and I'll just make sure I'll go back through here. I did have some inquiries over the weekend that around a new design that came out. And the design was a new Kate Davies design. And someone had emailed me and said about, are you able to put some colour combinations together using our Southlander bulky? And I thought, oh, that's a great idea. So first thing was this first job I did this morning, actually, when I got in. And I pulled this some colour combinations together, and they wanted to use Southlander bulky and dusky blue as a main colour. And I also see that this got shared out by somebody else over the weekend, and it's a really beautiful design. I mean, it's fantastic. Kate Davies is really got a mojo back, that's for sure. She's releasing some incredible stuff over the last, definitely over this year. And I got super inspired, and I kind of thought, oh, actually, I'm going to share this with you guys. So I'm going to go back and see if I can do my now funky little screen thing. Here we go. Look at that. So this is the pattern here. And it's called Sterntorscher. I think that's how you pronounce it, Sterntorscher. It's from her 10 Years in the Making. And it is this incredible, and let's pull up the images there. There we go. And it's this wonderful long line cardigan. Absolutely incredible long line cardigan. And I just think it is beautiful. Utterly beautiful. It's the great mix of classical but with a twist. Beautiful colour work across the bottom. Very geometric. Just amazing. Absolutely amazing. So she's gone and written it for her Schiehallion yarn, which is a DK. And she has gone and suggested here 2 DKs held together of this particular yarn will give you a bulky or a 12 ply. Now, to be fair, this yarn I don't know, but what I do know is I've looked at the gauge and in the 6.5mm needle, and you could use either Southlander bulky or warm or a couple of DKs pulled together to get this yarn. But also too, you could probably, depending on the thickness that you want to do as well, is there's other options with Southlander Sport. But either way, Southlander bulky and this would be a happy match. It is really good, beautiful, big, lovely sizes. It's something that you could throw over. It is certainly something that you could absolutely adore to do. And these are the number of colours that you're looking at doing. So in terms of the colour work, it's pretty much the majority of it is just a single skein, except for the first 2 colours, which are the blue and the cream. You need a little bit more. So what I then did with this is I had a play around with these colours, and there we go. Let's see if it's going to allow me to do that. Yes, it is. Boom. So then I had a play around with these colours, and this is the colour selection that my friend asked me to pull together. So there's the main colour in dusky blue there. So this is what she's wanting through for the body. And she said, can you match up the best colours as close to for the colour work? And I have to say, being able to do that was relatively easy, because in Southlander we had a lot of shades that were fairly close to, to be able to work with them. So we have the charcoal, the cream, the misty rose for this dusty pink here, Java bracken through here, foxy red through for the red, and the goldenrod absolutely perfect in the middle. And it just is an incredible combination. It really is quite beautiful. The other thing I suddenly thought was, as well, if you didn't want to do the entire thing in Southlander, there are other options. So then I actually pulled out, if you kept the colour work element the same, but you wanted a colour very close to what she has on the main body, that colour is almost a dead ringer for our Perrindale and Cape. So in Perrindale and Cape, that is a DK yarn, but if you were to do the 2 strands knitted together, you could still do that using all of those, all the colours that I have listed here, but in DK, in Southlander DK, and you could actually double strand together and get with the Perrindale Cape double stranded. Or another option is you could also potentially do the same thing with Southlander bulky. for the colour work and double stranding across with the body. The double stranded section may be slightly heavier, but that is another option. And then I also did a third combination, and that was with Perendale and Vintage. And the reason why I've done this third combination with Perendale and Vintage is because it means that it allows you to use the smaller amount of yarn for the colour work where you don't actually need a lot. So you can actually purchase very similar to what she has in the pattern. So again, looking at your main colour and cape through the body. And then here you can use Vintage Charcoal, Perendale Cream, Perendale Clover for that dusky pink. Now, I put Perendale Clover in there. The reason why I've done the clover is because we haven't got vintage rose hips. Personally, I would do vintage rose hips. If you picked up some of the pink that we had, I think we sailed it out last month. There was a little bit that went out. It was a second. That was the rose hip. There was the dyeing wasn't as solid as we would have liked. It was sort of more translucent. You could actually use that if you picked up some of that, or if you have rose hip in stash. Rose hip is definitely coming back, but we don't have any at the moment. But Perendale Clover is a slightly more heathered colour, sort of heathered violet shade, so it would still work. Alpine Green, which is in Vintage, beautiful, Carmine, and Sweet Corn. Now, the other yarn instead of sweet corn, if you want that more russety colour through the centre here, that you could use instead of sweet corn, is if you've got any Bandit Daring in DK. Now, I didn't put the Bandit up on this tile because, again, we're out of stock of Bandit, and I know Deb is waiting for some more. But if you had some of that in stash too, that would be a fabulous colour to stick in there. Or another option, if you were double stranding those together and you wanted more of that gold in there, you could actually put in Warm, which is a 14 ply, single stranded and bullion. That would work, and it would still give the same tension. You're looking at the same untreated wool, so it would just melt into the design and look fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. So there are some really fantastic options. I thought that pattern was an utter absolute winner. So I'm going to pop that in the newsletter today and those tiles up to give you some ideas. But if you're looking for something to really get your teeth stuck into over your summer knitting, and I know many of you really enjoy doing a really good juicy garment knit over that time period, or even if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, I mean, this is your winter knitting time. But that sort of, holidays time is often when we do some of these really juicy projects. I think that one would be an absolute cracker. I really do. And let's face it, who doesn't love a sort of wraparound, snuggly, gorgeous long line cardigan? I mean, they're just fantastic. And so hopefully those options are ones that you could have a little look at and think you might want to try. I haven't costed it out yet. I've only just had a play around this morning, but I'll cost it out and stick that in the newsletter this afternoon to have a look at. Right, let's have a look and see what we've got in the comments today. This is from Pauline. She is just saying, great to see how you're combining different fibres and yarns. You have lots of yarns and to have a look at and handle it frequently. And but you're not too bold in combining in this way. Well, Pauline, you need to get bold, my darling. You need to get bold. And it's one of the things, I love multiple stranding of yarns. I absolutely love it. It is one of my favourite things to do. And you get complacent, you forget about doing it, or people got scared off. And I know that years ago, I did lots of it years ago, and then it kind of fell out of favour. And it's come back into favour now with all the garments that use very, very, very fine mohairs or cashmeres, or basically brushed yarns with the DK. So like Love Note would be a really classic example of this. This is written with two options, a DK only option, which is what I've gone and done here, just using regular old DK yarn, or using a lace weight or a fingering weight yarn, which is like 4-ply, double stranded back with a mohair. And there's a number of designs like that. I know Petite Knits does a little bit of that. There's a whole number of designers use that technique. And because people have started using that technique again, the whole fear factor, I think, of multiple stranding has sort of disappeared. And that's one of the neat things about spending some time with people that are real fibre artists, because you get quite inspired to actually do that. And for me, I have lots of weird and wonderful, quirky things in my stash. And I know a number of us do, particularly if you're fond of the old bargain tub at a yarn store, and you'll magpie that one skein of something crazy that you've seen in there, and you think you just love the colour and you have to have it, and it was 50% off, and so you pick it up. We've all done it. I certainly have done it. And for me, that's quite often brushed yarns or sort of slightly crazy novelty yarns, because I just can't help myself. They're the sorts of yarns that we don't manufacture here. And if I see something like that, I'll squirrel it away into the stash. And I also get a lot of sample yarns, or yarns that we've played around with and we've only ever made a little bit of it. I'll hold some of it onto it as sort of a library here. But then I sort of think, it goes into stash and then you forget about it. And then it's so nice to actually take all those little fiddly bits and pieces and actually turn them into something quite incredible. So talking about that multi-stranding, I did the video. You may have seen the video. Actually, I can do I won't bore you guys with the video again. But I did a wee video of the yarns, that the Bluebell and the Imperial, that we put up, and a number of you came in over the weekend to check those out. Really love them. Kirsty is amazing. She has just taken the Imperial, which is the cashmere, and she has hand dyed herself over the weekend this beautiful monochromatic coral to go with it. And she's just started double stranding it with a shawl. I should have actually grabbed it. It looks amazing. It looks so good. So what we've gone and done, Claire has actually loaded all of those up onto the website. They're not live yet, don't panic. But hopefully we're going to get imagery through from the distributor. If we don't, I'm going to do some quick rudimentary imagery for everybody and actually start getting those up on the website, because you don't need a lot of them. The meterage on it is really long. So if you're looking to do something like a love note or a ranunculus or any of those other patterns, double stranding back, you may only need 3, 4, 5 balls best because of the meterage. And these yarns usually hover around the $30 to $35 mark. I think on special I've seen it in other places for $28. We've actually got it at $15.95 because we've bought the remaining stock. It's all here. And we've priced it to Claire because I think it's fabulous. So I am going to get that up to date. I promise. Going to do that. What else have I got there? Yes, Ray. Actually, Ray, that's great. If you're in Wardrobe Toolbox, you would have heard Libby says this. Libby always says, you're the boss of your knitting. And she is so right. You are the boss of your knitting. And don't be afraid. We all know, queen of modifications. But I love the freedom. That's one of the things I love about the freedom of making your own things like this. For a long time now, I've chosen not to be a slave to a pattern. I understand that there are things like lace work or certain elements of colour work that you need to make sure you maintain a pattern. But within a design, there are so many different elements within a design that you can actually modify or change or alter yourself. And I often too, if you look at my the designs that I have purchased on Ravelry in my library, a number of those designs are actually very, very plain. And the reason for that is I love to be able to take those, and I buy them for a template, really, to actually have a template of a particular, whether it be a sweater or a cardigan, or actually I've spoken endlessly about Martina Beam. She's one of my favourite designers for shawls and scarves. I own several of her designs, and the reason why I love them is that I can size them up or size them down dependent with the yarn and needles. I can do that, and they translate. You don't have to stick to what they've actually gone and done. And some designers you can do that easily, others not so much. She's one particularly that you can do it. Pauline's asking, I think this new design would be lovely in Southland bulky or perhaps Loyal bulky on special. What do you think? Pauline, the short answer to that is yes. So you could actually do either. The Southland bulky will definitely get you the gauge that you need, and it will be lovely and relaxed. The Loyal bulky would look great, and if you need extra colours, remember the Loyal bulky can actually also be used alongside the warm. So there are actually a colour palette, particularly if you're looking at I think it's the silver is called Gull. There's those couple of greys there. We've got the Bullion in there. There's but also there's the Nouveau. There are a whole variety of colours. You would be able to definitely get a colour palette out of those two for sure. Absolutely for sure. It would look amazing. And in fact, while we've got a variety of colours with the Loyal and the Warm, I think that would look great. The other yarn that you could potentially toss in there as well, if you're doing more Southland bulky as opposed to chunky, warm, chunky or Loyal, is those two. They're sitting in the sale page at the moment, those two batch 12 plies, which are the purple and the sort of kind of fuchsia coloured, cyclamini coloured, berry coloured. So I think they're called Sunburn. I so did not name that yarn. Honestly, I don't know what they were thinking in the mill. Sunburn and Sea Urchin is the purple. So they would work really well too. Oh, here we go. Here. Oh, is this what you are right? This is a pattern. So this is the pattern you were referring to, Pauline. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can pull that one up. Night Owl. Let's have a quick look, shall we? Now that we have the power, we'll look at it together, Pauline. Let's see if I can make this work. Oh, helps if I actually put these things in the right place. Does it not, people? Yes, it does. Let's try this again. Now, I'm assuming this is the one that you're meaning. And if it's not, Pauline, let me know, okay? So this is Night Owl by Heidi May, released this month. So I'm assuming this is the one you're meaning. I hope this is the one you're meaning. So here we go, November 2020. Oh, yeah, bulky 12 ply, absolutely. Yeah, it's using that. It's funny how they use that 14-stitch gauge on a 5 and 5.5 millimeter needle. But always, you know, because that's not a standard gauge for that needle, just saying. However, that's just something to be aware of when you're doing your sizing. As you can see with this, there's a whole heap of positive E's in there, so it's not the end of the world. Wow, okay, I can see why. Actually, I can see why you're quite attracted to this, because there's a massive size range on this, from preschooler all the way to 6XL. So there is no issues there. And actually, in a way, this goes to the discussion that I have just had around this is exactly the sort of garment that I would do, because it's sort of like a blank template, really, isn't it? Let's pull that up and have a look at that. See, look at that. It's quite a blank template. You know what? Double stranding on this too would be incredible. You know, I would a DK double stranded back with one of those new yarns that we've got in store. If you were looking to do something a little bit more airy like that, would be incredible. And in fact, if you wanted a little bit airier, I would double strand back a sport weight yarn with what we've got in store. These new ones in store would look amazing in that. So yes, so the short answer to what I said before, thinking that you were talking about the Kate Davies pattern, also actually applies to this, and I think we would be good to go on that. Yeehaw. Right, let's have a look. Oh, yeah, Rhonda did a whole bunch of knitting over the weekend as well. Right, sounds like you guys have been busy, really, really busy. Now, what else did I have to tell you? I've also got coming in, we've got the new wool and spun yarn that we've got coming. So half of them are here, and I'm just waiting for the coloured ones. So the first ones went through the dye house. We've got, I think, 3 naturals and 3 dyed shades. The 3 naturals are all different variants, different colours, different variants. And then one of those, and I can't remember which one it is also been dyed out in 3 other shades. So there'll be 4 colours total. Yes, so hopefully they'll be filtering through into the store this week, and I might be able to bring those to you towards the end of next week. And they are loads of fun. I've also gone and popped over on that Christmas gift page as well. As remember, we do still have our penguin mascots. They are still available. We have them in store and online. They've all got their own hand knitted sweaters, and a lot of those funds, actually, we donate a lot of those funds go back to the Napier, which is the National Aquarium of New Zealand, which is here in Napier, and they have a penguin rescue centre. So if you ever wonder where that goes to, that's what we do with that. What else have we got happening this week? We've just got to get our label printer up and running, and I should be able to bring you some more incognito yarns from our secret supplier in the US as well. So there's still loads to come. So just to make sure, if you have any questions at all around matching up yarns, don't be afraid to give us a yell. Now, Bronwyn, I hope you don't mind me jumping in here, but I find a lot of gauges on Ravelry are not very accurate for some commercial yarns particularly. I usually click on the yarn leak and the yarn specs from the manufacturer if I want to know more. Bronwyn, I could not agree more. It's literally, actually, I've had this conversation, sorry, going off on a tangent as I do, around gauges. I've had this conversation with a number of people in the know who know more than I. And yeah, gauge is this really funny old thing. And I think and I don't want to sound like a broken down record for people that don't do it. This is where, when launching into, I think, a garment project of a certain size, doing a swatch is so important. And I know that if anyone ever comes to us and asks for advice, or you've ever gone on Ravelry and they ask for advice, the professionals will always say, what does your swatch say? And we don't do that because we're trying to get rid of you, believe me. It is because those gauges are really subjective. A gauge that a designer will have on a garment or a design will often be the gauge because that's what they've achieved, or their test knitters have achieved when knitting in a certain format. So a really great example of this is if it's a garment knitted in the round, and all the large majority of people are knitting that garment and are using, say, continental style of technique of knitting, and there's a lot of stocking stitch. Well, the gauge on that garment actually could be 1 to 2 stitches different to somebody who uses traditional English throwing method in the round, for example. So there are a whole bunch of different reasons why gauge can alter and change. But the most important gauge when it comes to knitting any garment is the gauge that you knit at, because that's the gauge that matters on the day, right? So that's where actually taking that half hour to knit a quick swatch and give it just a very subtle block. And if you don't want to do a wet block, this is Marie's cheat. This is my quick cheat, is get your iron out, set it to the steamiest setting that you possibly can, plop it on your ironing board, and then steam that sucker until it completely relaxes. And you'll see it completely relax, and that will give you pretty much close to what you need. And take your measurements from there, because once you've taken that measurement, if you're a stitch or a stitch and a half out, particularly if you're knitting a garment that's not got a lot of positive ease, so a garment this is, when I say positive ease, that's big sloppy garments like this, right? Positive ease means lots of room to move. Negative ease means lots of a really fitting yarn with no room to move. If you're working on a fitting garment, believe me, you need to have that gauge spot on. If you're working on a positive ease garment, you got a little bit of room to move. But that, honestly, I I have a number of swatches that I've knitted on a number of projects, so I know the gauge I get on certain yarns and certain needles because I've done them time and time again, and I will refer to them. If you're somebody like Ethan, he even catalogues his. I mean, I don't do that. This is, but that's the importance of it, because then you know the fabric you're creating. So yeah, you're absolutely dead right there, Bronwyn. I always look at that gauge, always, because the gauge will tell me where they base their sizings around that gauge. So it doesn't mean that you have to achieve that gauge. All it means is you need to get within cooey of that gauge if you can. And when I say cooey, within a stitch or two either side, because once you've gone to a stitch or two either side, it's very, very easy to make the subtle adjustments of whether or not you need to go up and down a size based on the gauge that they've actually provided. So that's just a wee tip for you for the knitting. Right, I've rambled on for enough. 40 minutes, you've had enough of me for today. I'm going to get onto those newsletters and get those bits and pieces up for you. Have some great knitting this week. Don't forget, if you're on YouTube and you haven't subscribed to us here at the Skeinz Diaries, do subscribe, and then that way you'll get a wee dingy ding bell and it'll let you know when I'm going live. And the same with Facebook. I mean, there are people that watch this and haven't liked the Facebook page. I mean, heaven forbid. So do make sure you do that as well for us. And that will let us know when we're going to be on. So until then, I will see you on Thursday, and have a great beginning of your week. Take care.